This is your daily briefing and you're most welcome to it. Another one gone, another one bites the dust. Another serial winner thrown beneath the wheels of the out-of-control behemoth that is ENIC. And the Conte bashing continues unabated. He was a short-term spiv, unprepared to make a long-term commitment. And we've got people like Dan Kilpatrick who don't even worry, don't even consider about the reasoning gap in their logic. Apparently Tony had lost the entire dressing room. Yet we're still just a point behind Manchester United, which only goes to confirm what we knew all along. Nobody's interested in facts, it's all just feeling-led narratives. A muddle of disinformation that suggests the players weren't in love with the coach, but they were responding to him. Who cares how they feel? You could argue, and I have said to you on numerous occasions, the results were really quite thin. Of course you can say the results were thin, they were. Spurs weren't good to watch, but they were getting the job done. And don't forget, Conte was operating with his hands and his feet tied together. Colossal injuries mounted up, and he had over £200 million worth of players hidden on loan. And look at the situation now with Emerson Royal. Yeah, he's not the world's greatest footballer, but defensively he wasn't too bad. He's out for weeks. Who have we got? Pedro Porro, who's not a very good defender. He's decent going forward, he's improving, but defensively he's very suspect. We need to talk about the way that Tottenham have doubled down on the bad way that they've spent their money. And naturally, in the wake of Conte, there will be conversations about Jed Spence. I'd actually cut Levy a bit of slack on that because he's young and he wasn't very much money. My concerns are with Richarlison, over 50 million quid's worth of player. He doesn't score for domestic sides. The Brazilian wasn't happy about the game minutes he was getting under Conte, but what was he doing in training? Was he any better? We're about to find out because Stellini and Mason, well, you know, the shackles are coming off for the last 10 games, aren't they? And of course then we have Dan Juma, and I noticed the under-12s are pining to see this guy play for us. Yeah, great. Maybe he can recapture that form that he once showed us when he tore it up in the Championship a few years ago. And to be blunt, there's a lot of disinformation doing the rounds in respect of Nagelsmann. I just want to run through a few bits with you. We've had the plausible deniability sketch from a number of journalists who really should know better.
Nagelsmann wants to play Champions League football.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. But if Chelsea came knocking, would he really start pulling faces?
Bayern will need to be heavily compensated if Spurs hire the German.
I'm going to need to read this next bit so I get it right, okay? Sorry to break this to the numbskulls, but Bayern's financial clause will only be in Nagelsmann himself, not his next employer. Nagelsmann reportedly earns somewhere between €8 million and €9 million per annum and had a contract running until 2026. Bild reports that as Nagelsmann was dismissed by Bayern before the end of his second season, no automatic clauses can kick in. These clauses would kick in if Nagelsmann was fired after July 1st, 2023, when his third season would have begun, and it didn't. In theory, Nagelsmann could receive as much as €30 million in compensation if Bayern continued to pay him until the previously agreed end of his contract. A fee which ironically would be greater than the sum than they paid for him in the first place. A small saving grace is that the structure of that fee is reported as being 15 plus 5 plus 5, and then the last 5, as per Bild, will now be saved because Nagelsmann has won neither a double nor a Champions League in his time at Bayern. So the truth is, Nagelsmann's desire to work in the next few years will be tested by how much he wants to wager himself from his own pocket. So maybe the next club will compensate him so he isn't out of pocket. Well, let's look at Daniel Levy's pockets. How are they doing these days? Here's how much the business guru has spaffed on managerial compensations. As you can see, it's nudging along gently towards the 100 million mark, and I'd imagine that Conte will want another 4 put on top of that. Which of course will test Daniel's appetite for wanting to pay cash up front to get a new guy in, and that's before you look at his salary and what he wants when he leaves. And I hate to be the one to break it to you, but you may want to start looking at Spurs a little bit more realistically and weighing up what Julian's options are elsewhere, which means you take the lenses out of your glasses that Danny Kelly wears and those worn by that plank from the Supporters Trust. Are Tottenham a massive club? Just because the voices in your head say Spurs are a really big club it doesn't take away from the fact that once you look beyond the brouhaha about the infrastructure and the shiny new stadium, you're looking at a team that hasn't fulfilled an entire season with a coach since the 2017-18 season. We look a little bit ropey. Here's the last three coaches as perhaps the outside world might see them. One coach lasted just 17 games, winning 8, losing 7 and drawing 2. What about the other two? One was a serial winner that the club chose to sack 6 days before a cup final, which was then lost. And the last one was also a serial winner who blew up live on TV after Spurs threw away a 2-goal lead against a side that were nailed to the foot of the division. So if you're not a Tottenham fan, there's a good argument to be made that they won't be queuing up round the block for this job. I'm looking forward to the next 10 games because we've seen the penny drop for an awful lot of supporters. The mood in the fan base has undoubtedly changed, but we need to see the club change themselves. Is that going to happen? Leopards and spots. I don't buy it. I think we're stuck with these people forever, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with Harry Kane this summer. That's it for now. Good luck. Keep it Tottenham.